Hi everyone, welcome back. This is week 29 of my social isolation get ready with me's, and the palette that you guys voted for this week on my Instagram stories was the ABH Modern Renaissance palette. I haven't used this in quite a while. It does tend to be like a fall favorite palette for me, and if you haven't seen the inside by now, I'd be very surprised. However, here is the color scheme. What I want to do today is something more on the orange side of things. Whenever I reach for this palette, I always go for the red tones. But I want to try to switch it up and do kind of like an all matte look with like focusing on this orange over here. Mostly probably because it matches my nails. There was a lot going on this week. I wrote so many notes for this week and was like, holy smokes. In the last few weeks, I haven't had much to talk about. I'm always a little bit concerned about being like boring. But this week, I got a lot of things written down. So the first thing on my list is the fact that Ulta is no longer coming to Canada. I mean, it makes sense, right? There's not as many people buying makeup right now and the economy's kind of in shambles. But Ulta was supposed to be opening either late this year or in 2021 in Canada, and they've since pulled it back. There was an announcement that I read at some point this past week, and all the Canadians were just like, oh, why? Because I would 100% switch my business over to Ulta from Sephora if Ulta was in Canada. The Sephora reward system is just so garbage in comparison to Ulta. And honestly, I feel sometimes that Sephora kind of laughs at us with their point perks. They're even worse in Canada, if you can believe it, than they are in the US. Like, there's just very little to choose from. And even that, like, what is it? Like, use 500 of your points to get $10 off. Or was it more than that? Just doesn't seem reasonable. Like, I spent $500 and you're gonna give me $10 off? Okay. But yeah, a few people spotted some locales where the signage for Ulta isn't up yet, but they had like the orange slats and all that kind of stuff, and the header was starting to look like the Ulta sign, and we're like, oh no, it almost happened. We were so close. So this week I did manage to wash all of my face brushes. Look how clean they are. Oh, that is such a happy sight. But then I didn't clean any of my face or eye brushes, so that's what I'm working with right now. Okay, so like I said, I want to stick more with the orange side of things. So I think for crease color, I'm going to take raw sienna over here, which is a shade I don't usually use too much because I'm usually going for burnt orange, but I want to try something a little bit different. And I'm just going to pop that through my crease area. It's not that I get into ruts with palettes exactly, but sometimes when I get a palette and I find a look that I really like with that palette, that ends up being like the only thing that I do. So I'm trying to just branch myself out a little bit more. I mean, I could keep repeating the same look over and over again, but I'm pretty sure that gets kind of boring over time. Okay, crease color in place. For the lid, I'm going to take Rachelle here on a flat shader brush. Just put that all over the lid. So I'm pretty sure everybody's aware by now that Trump got COVID, which is apt, maybe, considering he spent how long denying it and saying it wasn't a big deal. Honestly, I'm so surprised that it took him this long to get it, considering all the rallies he's been to and never wearing a mask and all that kind of stuff. And it just... you don't want to say anything too bad, but at the same time, it's like you've been such a denier of it for so long that it's about time that you got it, because I'm hoping that if he's serious enough about it, his followers will realize maybe they should take it seriously. But there's been a lot of speculation that this is just a PR stunt, that maybe he doesn't really have it, or maybe it's going to do something to influence the election, because now he'll be like, well, now you should believe me and now you should trust me because now I want to take care of you because now I understand how COVID works. Or, as a few other people have told me, maybe he'll just downplay the whole thing and say like, oh, it's not a big deal. See, I recovered from it. I mean, he is, what, 70 plus, so he is on the weaker side of things. It's a little bit of a hard thing to discuss because you don't want to be too nasty about it, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you know, justice, almost. But one of the things I actually had written down before Trump got COVID to talk about was the fact that whenever I end up talking about healthcare with some Americans, like free healthcare in Canada, with some Americans, not all granted, they don't get it. And they always think that there's some sort of catch to the healthcare. So I can't remember what the conversation was, but I was talking to somebody online, and I was saying, oh, you know, well, at least the healthcare is free or here or whatever. And they're like, yeah, but like, how long are the lines? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, there's not really any lines. If you go to the doctor and you have an appointment, usually you're seen, I'm going to say, within 30 minutes of going there. If you go to the hospital and you have like a huge emergency, they will see you immediately. If it's something like a sprained ankle or whatever, they'll make you wait 5 hours, but like, let's get real. You don't need to go to the hospital for a sprained ankle. They treat it on an emergency basis. But some Americans just won't believe that there's no catch to it. And it's like, they're always thinking like, no, it has to be lesser healthcare. It has to be not as efficient or not as good because I pay for it, and therefore you're getting it for free cannot be as good. And honestly, there seems to be like no convincing them, which is just really frustrating. But I mean, I guess if you've grown up thinking that if you're paying for something, it's worth more, then that's what you're going to continue to believe. Anyway, let me grab another eyeshadow color before I keep yammering on. I'm going to take Cypress Umber, and I'm going to put that on the outer corner of the eye. So yeah, I was trying to explain how good the healthcare was in Canada to this person, and they just kind of like didn't believe me. They just kind of scoff at me, and I don't know why they think I would be lying about this kind of stuff, but they just didn't want to believe me. They had an excuse for everything. It was like, it didn't matter what I said. They had heard some sort of myth about how free healthcare is not good, so they would throw all kinds of things at me, and I was just like, okay, not everything you've been told is true. Or they'll make some sort of comment about, yeah, well, your taxes must be so high. I don't care. If it'll give me free access to healthcare and things that I need, and it will help other people, I don't care. Taxes are a good thing, and it's so weird that people hate them. Also realized I just took that Cypress Umber up too high over here. Blend it out. I know everybody doesn't like seeing taxes coming off on their paycheck, but it doesn't, when you see those hundreds of dollars just disappearing, but honestly, it doesn't bother me. Taxes are good things. I mean, assuming your government is putting it towards something that is helpful to the people, but I mean, it pays for roads, it pays for schools, it pays in Canada for free healthcare, and that's not a bad thing. Anyway, I don't really know where I'm going with my point on this. I think I was just in a little bit of shock that somebody just wouldn't believe me. Just thought there's no way that a free healthcare system could be any good. And it didn't matter what I said. They just had some sort of, not a point to refute, but they just sort of threw commentary at me that had no relevance. Anyway, I'm babbling now. And by free, I do mean free. I've been for CAT scans, x-rays, MRIs, ultrasounds, all that kind of stuff for different sports injuries or whatever over the years, and I've never paid for a single one of them. And I think that blows people's mind that that is even possible, to go in for all kinds of tests and just not have to pay for it. Okay, for the brow bone, I'm going to use Tempera. Okay, let's see. I'm going to add some wing liner with my Physicians Formula Eye Booster. Oh, am I doing a wing? No, let's skip the wing. I'm going to add liner because I am going to be adding false lashes, but I'm just going to end it right at the edge of my eye. Okay, moving on to the face. I'm just going to go in again with my Inglot Beautifier Tinted Cream. This is in the shade 103, and I forgot to bring my Beauty Blender over here, so I'm just going to be using a brush. And my favorite foundation brush, like, of life now is this one by Quo. Does it have a name written on it? Oh. Did I rub it off already? Oh, no, there we go. HD foundation brush. It's so small, so you would think, I don't know, for me, I would always think small brushes don't work that well because they don't cover a large area, but there's something about the shape of this one that just really works out well. The thing I love about it is it doesn't leave streak marks on me, which is usually my problem with foundation brushes. So I was at the gym in my condo, not anywhere else, because Ontario is rolling back, I think, to phase 2, because our COVID cases are up quite a bit. So I was in my condo gym, and this was so painful. I dropped a 20-pound weight onto my finger. I'll show you in a second the other side of it. although it's not that bad now. And it pinched my finger against a metal bar that was on the bench that I was on. So I haven't felt pain like that in a very long time. Generally, pain tends to make me laugh. Just kind of like this awkward release of uncomfortability that usually if I'm in pain, I laugh. But this was like instant tears. I just started bawling. It was so painful. I don't know if you can see. Oh yeah, it's a nasty color right now. So this was almost completely purple black like 2 days ago because it pinched the finger between the plate was on top as a 20-pound weight and then the bar was underneath, so it like slammed into it and like just instant pain. I cut the nail off because the pressure was kind of driving me nuts. But the blood has started to drain all the way down. And in comparison to what it looked like before, like this really looks like nothing. But holy smokes, that was wild. It was so painful. Typing was like near impossible. I just ran upstairs and grabbed an ice pack and just started bawling. It was bad. And I don't normally drop weights. Like, it kind of really took me by surprise. I think I was just putting it down and my hand swung or something, and I don't know, and I just pinched my finger. Probably lucky I didn't break it or fracture it. And of course, playing video games with a very busted pointer finger is not easy. I had to switch a few of my World of Warcraft spells around so that I wasn't constantly using this finger. Gamer problems. And on that note, I don't know if anybody... There's a few people I know out there who do play World of Warcraft, but Shadowlands, the new expansion, got pushed back, so that's not going to be happening at the end of October. They'll probably wait another month to release it, I guess. It was funny, though, because I booked time off for it, so I could just, like, not work and play games all day. And my boss had asked me, she's like, oh, what do you need the time off for? Because it's like the end of year at work, so I might have to sign a few things, for example, for like year-end ratings and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, she's like, you're not going anywhere, are you? I'm like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm literally taking the time off to go play World of Warcraft. She's like, oh, okay. So you're around if I need you to sign anything. I'm like, yeah. I'm always very upfront with people at work that I play video games and what games I play, but I know there's so many people out there who are just completely uncomfortable talking about like their video game obsessions with their coworkers. I have no issues with it, primarily because I want more people to feel comfortable about talking about this kind of stuff. Like, I feel like so many people keep their gaming life a secret, like it's something dirty and shameful, but I'm like, whatever, it's what I do, and other people should know about that, and maybe it'll make other people feel more comfortable telling their boss that they're taking a week off to play a video game. Like, where's the harm in that? Okay, foundation done. For bronzer, I'm going to be using this one by Fenty Beauty. This is in the shade Into Sun, which I'm pretty sure is their palest shade. I'm so happy that the weather's getting cooler now. It's about 10 degrees outside right now, and it's kind of cloudy, which I really like. I know people are super into summer and really like the heat, but I am not that person. Give me the cold, give me winter. I love fall. The leaves are starting to turn too, and it's much nicer for running outside because it's just so much easier on my lungs. My preferred temperature for running outside is like between 0 and 10 degrees. I think that's just like perfect. Okay, for blush, I'm pulling out a palette that I got from my friend Julie. This is the Juvia's Place, the Saharan Blush Volume 2 palette. And I think I'm going to go in with this like brownish color because even though it's terribly boring in the pan, it's probably going to be one of those colors that just looks perfect. And the shade is called Yara. Oh, wow. There's way more orange in that than I was expecting. That works out pleasantly. That works out really well, but I was not expecting that to be that tone of orange. And then for highlighter, I wanted to use my Stila Kitten highlighter. This is in one of their like putty type textures, which always surprise me when they actually end up working because I feel like it just doesn't ever look like anything's coming off on the brush. But then you put it on and it's beautiful. Okay, let's finish up the eyes. For the lower waterline, I'm going to take this Revlon So Fierce liner in the shade, what are you called? Mighty Mocha. These are super creamy. It's just a dark brown. on there messily, and then I'm going to take a pencil brush and I'm going to go back into Cypress Umber and just layer that all along here. And then to blend out Cypress Umber, because it looks really stark right there, I'm just going to go in with Raw Sienna and blur out those edges and tie it to up here. And then for the inner corner of the eye, I'm going to take Primavera here and just pop that right there. Okay, now for the boring stuff, I'm going to put on my mascara, some false lashes, and my eyebrows, and I'll be right back. All right, and of course, the last step is lips, and I'm going to be using the Kat Von D liquid lipstick in the shade Hawkwind. That is a great color. I don't use it very often because when I usually look at it in the tube, I'm like, ugh, kind of boring, but that is great. Okay, so that is the finished look. Whenever I take my headband off, I'm always hoping I don't have a kink in my hair. There's one there anyway. And there's that stupid kink from wearing my headset all the time. Ugh. Okay, so there we go. That is the finished look. It ended up being a lot more brown than I was picturing, but I do like how it came together. It is very fall-esque for me, and I think the lips really work with the eyes. This palette, seriously, is such a staple for the autumn season. I always pull it out between September and October. Okay, so that's gonna be it for this video. That's the end of week 29. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're doing well, and I will hopefully see you next time. Bye.